The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels.
Some alleged smugglers have survived some of these recent strikes and been sent back to their home country. If they're terrorists, why not just arrest and detain them?
Go ahead.
2 points on that. First,
picture this. Powerful criminal cartels that control entire regions, demand influence over governments, and create a climate of fear and instability in countries. What happens when those cartels get so powerful that they can dictate terms to the government? This isn't some far-off hypothetical. It's the reality that's unfolding in many parts of Latin America and the Caribbean. The rise of these drug cartels, which control drug trafficking routes, is costing lives, ruining economies, and leaving millions trapped in violence. But there's a glimmer of hope emerging in the Caribbean. Leaders like Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar are stepping forward and supporting global efforts to push back against these dangerous cartels. Is this a turning point in the fight against crime, or is it simply another move in a high-stakes geopolitical game? Keep watching, because the stakes are higher than ever before.
that's gonna be hard to get on.
The brutal truth is that drug cartels have become some of the most powerful and dangerous criminal organizations on the planet. They're not only responsible for trafficking enormous amounts of illicit drugs across continents, but they also control territory, intimidate governments, and inflict untold damage on entire populations. In places like Mexico, the power of drug cartels has reached new levels. These cartels don't just smuggle drugs. They challenge governments, corrupt law enforcement, and even dictate what policies are enforced. They use the threat of violence to leverage political influence, destabilizing regions, creating fear, and causing deaths at an unimaginable scale. According to the UNODC, Latin America and the Caribbean represent only 8% of the world's population, but they account for a staggering 29% of global homicides every year, largely due to the drug trade and the violence it fosters. The numbers are devastating. Thousands of lives are lost annually in countries that are struggling to fight back against these cartels. The Mexican government has even been seen backing down in certain regions where cartels operate with impunity, and their influence runs so deep that they essentially run the show. The effects on the health systems in these countries are also enormous, with resources stretched thin as they deal with not only the violent aftermath of cartel activity, but also the public health impact of drug addiction. These cartels are poisoning communities and leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Moving to the Caribbean, the problem is no less severe. The region has long been a key transshipment point for drugs heading to the United States and Europe, and its role has only grown over the years. The Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Haiti, and others are prime destinations for the trafficking of cocaine, marijuana, and other illicit substances. The Caribbean's long coastlines and relatively lax law enforcement allow traffickers to move vast quantities of drugs with little interruption. In fact, Jamaica has become an increasingly critical player in the global drug trade, intercepting massive cocaine shipments in its ports. Seizures like the 1,500 kilograms of cocaine found in Kingston in January 2024 show just how deep the issue runs. But drug cartels don't just move drugs, they also build networks of gangs to control territories and fight for dominance over these routes. In countries like Jamaica, Haiti, and Trinidad and Tobago, the increasing gang violence linked to the drug trade has put the region on the brink. Gangs recruit locals to work for them, often offering them protection or money, and in return they fuel the cycle of crime. Haiti in particular has suffered from this, with gangs controlling more than 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and using violence to maintain their grip on power. This is where the fight against these cartels has become critical for the Caribbean's future. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has made it clear that her country is committed to supporting global efforts to combat the cartels. At the Shield of the Americas summit, she defended her decision to join the Americas Counter-Cartel Coalition, ACCC, a military and security alliance led by the United States, aimed at reducing the influence of these cartels across the region. Persad-Bissessar argued that the partnership with the US government, under President Trump, would benefit not just Trinidad and Tobago, but also other Caribbean countries. She believes that collaborating with the US will lead to better security, the dismantling of criminal networks, and economic stability for the region. While the partnership has been controversial, especially with the US having its own interests in mind, such as reducing drug flows into its own country, it may be one of the region's best options in an increasingly difficult fight against organized crime. In the end, the question remains, is the US involvement in the Caribbean's fight against drugs a genuine effort to help the region? Or is it just a way to protect itself and reduce the flow of illicit drugs into its borders? Regardless of the answer, one thing is certain. The drug cartels must be stopped if the Caribbean is to have any hope of rebuilding its economy, reducing crime, and saving lives. Ultimately, the fight against drug cartels and their criminal networks in the Caribbean comes down to more than just tackling the flow of illegal substances. It's about saving lives, not only by reducing the violence that plagues communities, but by breaking the cycles of addiction and corruption that fuel these destructive systems. In places like Haiti, where gangs control much of the country and violence escalates daily, the situation is dire. With the international community responding through limited humanitarian aid and diplomatic efforts, the road to recovery seems incredibly long. Children are displaced, families are torn apart, and people are left without basic needs like food, water, and healthcare. The drug trade doesn't just destroy lives through violence, it traps entire populations in poverty, fear, and hopelessness. Meanwhile, in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, the growth of drug trafficking and gang violence has similarly intensified. The increasing role of the Caribbean as a key drug hub is partly due to the rise in coca production in Colombia and drug seizures by Jamaican authorities. But behind every seizure, there are lives destroyed. Addicts, families caught in the crossfire of gang wars, and citizens who live in constant fear. The cartel's power isn't just about drugs, it's about their ability to manipulate systems, intimidate governments, and destroy communities. When governments like those of Jamaica or Haiti are under the influence of criminal networks, it becomes exponentially harder to address fundamental issues like healthcare, economic growth, and public safety. And yet, it is precisely these issues that need to be tackled in order to break the chains of cartel dominance. The economic toll of the drug trade and the violence it causes is staggering. In the Caribbean, drug trafficking contributes to an underground economy where illegal money flows freely, corrupting government officials and draining public funds. The loss of foreign investments due to high crime rates means that nations are left with few options for improving infrastructure, education, or healthcare. Even tourism, a major